Coffee-coated flavored beans can be a hot topic in the coffee community and among enthusiasts, many of which are purists and believe in drinking coffee black or espresso straight. I'm a believer in drinking what you like. I personally drink a flat white with 5 grams of maple syrup. And for many years before my third wave coffee journey, I did sometimes consume coffee-coated, flavored, oily beans. And if you want quality but still want flavor and taste, there are better ways. So why is buying the coffee-coated flavored beans bad? Usually it's not going to be the best quality coffee. You want convenience and you want flavor and you like fun flavors. Who wouldn't? But the problem with this is that if you grind your own coffee and you are getting these beans, it is going to get very gunky and that oiliness is not good for your grinders. And with time, it's likely going to clog, perhaps break your grinder. One person on Reddit had really strong feelings about flavored coffee and said that it is grinder herpes. So I think that they're in agreement that it's not good for your grinder. The alternative is you can get pre-ground coffee. In fact, that's what I used to do because I was super not into coffee the way I am right now. I didn't have my own coffee grinder. And if you get it pre-ground, it's not as bad. You're not gonna gunk up your machine, you're gonna gunk up their machine, not your problem. But you will not have the freshest coffee. And fresh coffee is super important for the flavor of your coffee and maximizing the flavors of your coffee because that degrades quite quickly. I actually have a video about freshness and storing coffee that I will link in the description down below if you're curious about that. I don't know any good roasters put the flavored oils on top of their coffee beans because they pride themselves with working with good farms and roasting the coffee and really working on that profile. It's very unlikely you would see a good quality roaster and good quality coffee have the flavored beans on top of it. Now let's explore the other ways of getting your coffee with some flavor. The most obvious, and this depends on where you are in your coffee journey, but it would be to play with different coffee flavor profiles. On a lot of the bags, you'll have different coffee notes, and then if you have lower altitude, very big generalizations, so many other variables, but we'll keep it simple. The lower altitude, you're gonna have more nutty, chocolatey flavors, and higher altitude, you'll have more complex flavors, something that's a bit more fruit-oriented. You can then go for natural coffees instead of washed coffees. That's a different drying process, and the flavor will be a lot more fruity because in the drying process, it ferments and dries a little bit in the fruit itself on the drying beds, and that just has a bit more flavor in it naturally. And naturally processed is actually better for the environment than washed because it uses less water. Then a step above that, nowadays there's a lot of different experimentations with coffee, and so you have anaerobic, they cut the oxygen, they would ferment it, I think generally it's 72 hours, doesn't really matter. That will really have a very strong flavor, and that is really my favorite. They've been described as funky and winey. I've had coffee where they threw in lychee into the fermentation process. I've seen lactic fermentation. I haven't tried it myself. I read that it could be a bit more creamy in flavor, and so there's all these other ways of experimenting and adding all this flavor into your coffee bean itself, and it soaks in these flavors without throwing in an oily flavor coating on top of the coffee bean. It's embedded into the coffee before it goes into the drying process. It's more natural. It tends to be generally on the fruitier side, so not really the nutty side. And here's a fun little tip when selecting coffee. Looking at the tasting notes is one way to figure out if you are going to like this flavor profile, but that is subjective to the roaster, and we all have different interpretations of taste. I like to often also put my nose right up to here and push out to do a sniff test and see what that smells like. You can go for store-bought syrups like Torani, for example, is a big one. I think this is what they stock at Starbucks. It's more artificial tasting. I find that this works really well with darker roasts because the lighter roast, you want to really keep the flavor from the coffee, or even go for cheaper coffee. Maybe there is a coffee shop near you that has bulk coffee that may be a bit cheaper and a little bit less fresh. Where I live, there are some eco-friendly bulk stores that stock local roasted coffee and they replenish quite often, but I don't know the exact roast date. So for example, I'll go there and I'll get the coffee, a darker roast there. It tends to be a bit cheaper. The other option is to make your own syrups. I have a pumpkin spice latte that I made on my own. I actually have a video of this on my channel. And then I also made a vanilla syrup, simple syrup myself. They've been in my fridge for quite a while and they still seem to be fine. So I'm actually quite surprised they have lasted this long. This is probably 2 years old. And these are really fun to put into your own coffee. Yes, it's gonna require a bit more work, but it will be way better quality. You'll be making it so you know what's going in there. no weird preservatives of any kind. You can also flavor your milk. I've never done this, but if you like all those fun things like Lucky Charms or Cinnamon Toast Crunch or any kind of more wild flavor, and you like milk-based drinks, you could try doing this. It could be really fun. Why not experiment sometimes? Maybe you learned something new from this video, maybe just a refresher, maybe you'll explore other things. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know some of your coffee flavoring if you do any of that, and maybe there's something I haven't discovered yet I'd love to discover. If you want to see my pumpkin spice latte video, you can watch that right here where I make my own syrup using the James Hoffman recipe. And if you would like to find out more how to store and really preserve the fresh flavors of your coffee, you can watch that video right here. And I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!